The Golden State Warriors are just that dangerous, or at least it seems like they are. They've been playing in a way that seems to be the complete opposite from the pre-Jimmy Butler time, basically going from a team that has no clue what they're doing to a team with an actual identity, a team that opponents actually have to keep an eye on. But anyways, the overall evolution of this team is genuinely insane, almost mysterious. And like in many other mysteries, it's safe to say the Butler did it. Now, it's no secret that Golden State had tons, and I mean tons, of problems prior to Jimmy Butler's arrival, and the question that still remained was, does he really make the Warriors better? Well, yes, he does, in nearly every way. At the most basic level, Jimmy provided value by simply being Jimmy Butler. The Warriors lacked real direction in the pecking order behind Steph Curry, so there was nobody to fall in line to when Steph wasn't on the floor. And now there is. But if we look at Jimmy's value on a deeper level, I think the most valuable trait of all is his influence. Prior to Jimmy Butler's arrival, Golden State's offense was incredibly inconsistent. They would go on dry spells that basically dug their own graves halfway through the game, and it wasn't a result of just missing shots. It was a result of no offensive aggression whatsoever. In the minutes that Steph was on the bench, the team essentially fell apart. They didn't know how to do anything other than pass the ball to Steph and get out of the way. So when he wasn't there to bail them out, they just didn't score. But Jimmy's influence has changed all of that entirely. Because with Jimmy on the floor in the non-Steph minutes, everyone around him suddenly becomes more aggressive. More shots are being put up by other players, and more importantly, more quality shots are being put up. We're already seeing a significant boost of offensive production from Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Quinton Post, and even Draymond Green has been looking to score more than usual. And everyone knows it's all fun and games until Draymond starts hitting threes. Changing the offensive structure of this team makes them that much more dangerous because multiple scoring threats are always more lethal than one central hub. And the crazy thing is, Jimmy hasn't even been hyper-aggressive himself because he no longer needs to be. But we all know what Jimmy Butler can do by himself already. However, Jimmy's influence doesn't just apply to the offense because Golden State's defense has elevated to a brand new level. Everyone is almost mimicking Jimmy's defensive reads, jumping passing lanes, and executing rotates. It's almost like witnessing an entire team become smarter and smarter every single game. It's an impact that not even Draymond Green can replicate because he's not necessarily roaming the perimeter like Jimmy does. And considering the Warriors are composed of mainly perimeter players, Jimmy is a lot more relatable, hence the sudden change in steals since the arrival of Jimmy. It's literally a perfect situation for both parties. The Warriors needed everything Jimmy provides, and Jimmy needed a franchise that actually values him. And when you put good players in good situations, it's hard not to see a significant difference, especially when that situation is playing with the most space he's ever had in his career and probably the most IQ on the floor at the same time. And when you put multiple high IQ guys together on the floor at the same time, everything just seems to flow, which perfectly explains why Jimmy has made such a drastic impact so quickly. The Warriors have found the best way to utilize him, and he's smart enough to play off Steph Curry. But this team is more than just Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. A couple games ago against the Kings is probably the biggest example of this. In a game where the star duo combined for just 17 points, the Warriors still won by nearly 30 because 8 players notched double figures and Jimmy wasn't even one of them. In a game where the opponent's only objective was to stop Steph Curry at all costs, everyone else filled up the stat sheet. A great sign for any team that has championship aspirations, because a team that can find ways to win convincingly without the star players really needing to do anything is dangerous. Not to mention, the Warriors just got Jonathan Kuminga back, and he's already made a difference by simply being yet another offensive weapon at the Warriors' disposal, specifically a slashing and free throw threat. In the same way that Jimmy has managed to turn Golden State's free throw weakness to a strength, Kuminga, with the guidance of Jimmy, can strengthen it even more. But it's not just offense that can win them games, because even when the shots aren't falling and the offense isn't flowing like normal, the defense is good enough for the Warriors to still win games. All of these things, with the addition of Steph Curry still being Steph Curry, have contributed to the Warriors getting back to a point where they are surprisingly good again. And the last time the Golden State Warriors were looking surprisingly good, they won an NBA championship. And if you're wondering why I'm telling you this, it's because this team might just be dangerous enough to do it again. Now, I'm not saying they are going to have the same result as 2022, but there's no clear sign that this team doesn't have at least a slight chance to do it. Especially considering playoff Jimmy is a real thing, and doubting Steph Curry is never a wise thing to do. Odds really don't mean much with these two. Right now, the Warriors are sitting at the 6th seed in the West and are on absolute fire with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. With the Western Conference being extremely tight right now, anything is honestly possible. Well, anything except for the 1st seed. OKC's pretty much got that locked up at this point. As long as the Warriors continue to keep up the level of play that they have been playing at, I think a playoff spot is in their future. But at the very least, a play-in spot should have their names on it already. But just because they may be low-seeded, you can't count them out, because like we've seen in the past, playoff Jimmy managed to bring the 8th seed Heat all the way to the finals, and playoff Steph defied all odds to raise another banner in 2022. These two aren't just normal players, they elevate to a dangerous level in the postseason, and it's the reason why the Warriors are just that dangerous. But there's something else. Doesn't this all look a little familiar? Coincidence? Probably. Yeah, probably.
I wasn't strong enough to save you, Mom. But I promise I won't fail again.